So in January 2023, we got the news from James Gunn himself that a Batman and Robin movie was in development. The movie is going to star Bruce Wayne raising his son Damian Wayne as Robin. We don't really know anything more than that. But James Gunn also added that we will be seeing other members of the Bat family show up in this project. And I think the Bat family is one of the more interesting parts of the DC universe as a whole. And in recent years, it has actually grown to be gigantic. And it has actually been a really long time since we've seen the Bat family adapted to live action. The last time we saw it was with Bat Nipples with Batman and Robin, and it's grown substantially since then. So in this video, I wanted to talk about Bat family members that could appear in the DCU going forward. I'm going over pretty much the entire Bat family. I know there's a couple of members that I'm going to be missing, but the ones that I leave out are the ones that I don't think are going to be part of the family. But there are some members of the Bat family that I'm going to be going over that I also am going to say, no, I don't think they're going to appear. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it because it's going to be a long video. So first off, let's start off with the very first Robin, Dick Grayson. Dick debuted in the 1940s as Batman's sidekick. He was a member of the Flying Graysons, but during an act at the circus, his parents were tragically killed and it left him as an orphan. Eventually, Bruce Wayne adopted him and he took on the Robin mantle at the age of 13, and he was Batman's sidekick until 1984 when he left the mantle of Robin and became Nightwing and also became leader of the Teen Titans. I'm going to keep this one pretty short because this is going to be a really long video, and like most of you, or probably all of you watching this video, I fully expect Nightwing or Dick Grayson to be in the DCU. Like many of you, Nightwing is one of my all-time favorite DC characters, and most importantly, for the sake of the DCU, he is also one of the most popular DC characters of all time. He's one of those characters that has mainstream appeal. You'll see people wearing Nightwing shirts or Nightwing memorabilia that aren't even DC fans. They just love the character of Dick Grayson. Like I said earlier, in the initial announcement, Gunn said that there will be supporting roles in this Brave and the Bold movie starring Batman and Damian, and I fully expect Nightwing to be there. Like, I think it would be shocking if Nightwing was not there. The fact that he mentioned there was going to be other Bat family members there, I think that guarantees Nightwing and also the next character I'm going to be going over on this list. He's the first Robin, arguably the most popular character outside of Batman himself. I think he is the most popular character outside of Batman, and he's also widely considered to be the heart of the Bat family. It's honestly criminal that we have not seen him in a big screen movie yet, and I'm not even going to bring up the possibility that he's not in this Brave and the Bold movie because I 100% guarantee you he will be there. If he's not there, you can come back here and I will delete my channel if Nightwing is not in the Brave and the Bold. He's just too important of a character to skip, and he's too popular, and honestly, I really like his dynamic with Damian, his big brother dynamic. I thought it was portrayed really well in the DC AMU.
I have a kid here. Says he's your son.
But also in Grant Morrison's Batman run where Dick Grayson becomes Batman and Damian is his Robin. I think that dynamic duo is one of the best dynamics in DC. Like, it's pretty short-lived because Batman wasn't dead for very long in the comics, but when Nightwing becomes Batman and Damian is his Robin, it's fantastic. Also, with the Teen Titans movie coming out, whether it's based on the Wolfman era team of Teen Titans or the Rebirth era team of Teen Titans, I guarantee that Dick Grayson will have a large role in that film. So yes, I'm gonna give it the certified 100% guaranteed Nightwing is definitely going to be in the DCU. So next up, we have the most famous and most mainstream version of Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. Barbara made her debut in 1967 to star as Batgirl alongside Batman and Robin. She is the daughter of Gotham Police Commissioner Jim Gordon and initially set out as Batgirl independently of Bruce's training, meaning she was not raised to be one of his child soldiers. Initially, Batman didn't like the idea of her being a crime fighter, but eventually warmed up to it after she proved she was a capable detective and combatant. She was Batgirl all the way up until the 1989 story Batman the Killing Joke, where she was paralyzed in an ambush by the Joker. After being paralyzed, she became Oracle, a girl in the chair for Batman, the Birds of Prey, and eventually the Justice League. This is another really easy one for me. I'm gonna go with a resounding yes. Barbara is one of the most important characters for the development of the Bat family. She is the first woman to be part of the Bat family, and yes, stop going to war with your keyboard, because I know it's technically Betty and Kathy Cain. That was pre-Crisis, and they're not the first members of the Bat family anymore. And by the way, they're not gonna be featured in this video, at least the pre-Crisis versions of them. I know that Barbara Gordon wasn't technically the first, but in modern continuity, she is the first. Also, with the statement that we're going to be getting other Bat family members in this Brave and the Bold movie, I think that Barbara is definitely going to be one of them. Whether or not she is Batgirl or Oracle, I'm not sure. I honestly would prefer that she's Oracle so that we have room for other Batgirls in this Bat family right away, and I'm not going to give away who I'm talking about, but you could probably figure it out. In my opinion, if you put Dick Grayson in it, you gotta put Barbara Gordon in it. I'm a Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon guy. I can argue all day about why I think Barbara is better for Dick and not Corey, but I mean, I know the fandom is pretty split on that, so I am curious to see which character she'll be though, whether she'll start out as Oracle or whether she'll start out as Barbara Gordon. My guess is that she'll be Oracle, just because I don't think they're gonna want to do a Joker story right away in the DCU, because I have to think even if she does start out as Batgirl that she will eventually become Oracle. And I guess you could change the story and have her just like in a tragic accident where she breaks her back and becomes paralyzed, but I don't think they want to do that. I think that storyline is pretty iconic, that the Joker was the one who did that. So I think they're just gonna have her as Oracle and have the Joker had done it in her past or something, but none of that really matters. My guess is that she'll 100% be in the DCU. It's not even really a guess. This is another pick for me that is like 100% guaranteed. Barbara Gordon will for sure be in the DCU. All right, so next up, let's talk about one of the most popular members of the Batman family, Jason Todd. Jason was the second Robin and took up the mantle following Dick's departure from the Robin costume. Unlike Dick, however, Jason grew up with a really rough childhood. His dad was a criminal and his mom was a drug addict. Jason grew up in Crime Alley, where Bruce's parents were shot when he was just a child. Because of his bad upbringing, Jason had a really hard time controlling his anger and would often lose control and lash out during missions. This concerned the Bat family, but they still kept letting him fight alongside Batman. Eventually, Jason got a message from his supposedly deceased mother from a European country, and he traveled there to go and see her again, but it was actually a trap set up by the Joker, who then brutally beat him and then left the place where he was being held and blew it up. This was the death of Jason Todd, also known as Death in the Family, and it is one of the most infamous stories in Batman history. This was a very violent story for DC Comics at the time, and it was actually perpetuated by DC Comics fans. The editorial had a vote on whether or not fans wanted to keep Jason around, and they voted strongly against Jason because they felt like he was just a Dick Grayson knockoff. So what did editorial do? They just murdered him brutally. It's crazy. It is honestly a crazy story. Jason stayed dead until 17 years later, where a villain named Red Hood returned in the storyline Batman Under the Red Hood. And this Red Hood villain wore a bat symbol. Who am I kidding? This isn't even a comic book only story. People know this story already. Basically, it's revealed that this Red Hood character is Jason Todd, and that's why he's able to combat Batman so well, because he knows his identity, he knows his tricks, he knows his gadgets. And honestly, if you don't know the whole story of Jason Todd and his return from the dead, which I mean most people do, I feel like, even mainstream fans, but if you don't, definitely go watch the DC animated movie Under the Red Hood. It is honestly one of the best pieces of media DC has ever put out, across comics, gaming, movies, all of it. It is incredible. It was one of the first DC movies I watched, and yeah, it honestly really scared me when I was a kid, but it is so good. Do not watch it with your kids though, because it is very violent, especially the beginning. Well, it's not like extremely violent, but I would just say wait till your kid's like 10. Okay, so now that we got that long-winded backstory out of the way, will Jason Todd be in the DCU? I think it's a pretty easy answer. Yes, I think that Jason Todd will be in the DCU. Jason Todd has gone beyond being a fan favorite among DC fans. He is a mainstream, well-known character. I have friends who love Jason Todd that don't read comic books like I do. And it doesn't surprise me, like his story is really cool. He goes from Robin to dying to then coming back and wanting to exact revenge on all the criminals that ruin the city. I mean, his view on things isn't the right way to view things, but he's also not wrong. Every time the Joker gets locked up, he gets out. He gets out every time. It's the same thing with Riddler, all the Black Mask, all these Batman villains. And so Red Hood wants to eliminate them, and it's not crazy because more people keep dying. So it's not crazy, but Batman has to like reinstill justice into him, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We always have back and forth on whether or not Jason's a good guy or a bad guy. It's honestly like tonal whiplash reading the comics. I just prefer watching the movie because, I mean, that's where the story is, that's where it should end. I also think Arkham Knight was a good adaptation, but I'm totally yapping. So yes, I do think he'll be in the DCU. I don't think he will be in the first Batman movie. I think he will not be in The Brave and the Bold. My guess is that Batman will still be recovering from Jason's death, no matter how recent it was. I'm guessing it was probably like 3 or 4 years before the movie happened. But yeah, I'm guessing that Talia al Ghul will be the main villain of this Brave and the Bold movie. At least that's what happened in the Grant Morrison comic books that introduced Damian Wayne. And I'm guessing at the end of the movie, after she's defeated, it's revealed that she has Jason Todd because Jason was revived in the Lazarus Pits. We'll come back to that whole dynamic of Jason's death in a couple entries because I think it's an important thing to talk about. But yeah, I think he will be in it, should be in it, and will be directly involved with the DCU Bat family going forward past this first Brave and the Bold movie. And I know Red Hood fans are annoyed that I'm saying that because they want to see him show up sooner than later, and I get it, but I think it's about time we have a live-action Red Hood movie, and not where Dick Grayson's going to be the Red Hood, because that was the plan for the Snyder universe, and I honestly think that's just dumb. I would also love to see the dynamic of him and Dick on the big screen. I think it's a really good brotherly dynamic, and I would like to see it on the movie screen. I do think that in the middle to late stages of the DCU that he will play a major role in the Bat family, and yeah, I think he'll for sure be in it, so let's just move on. Alright, so now let's talk about my favorite Bat family member and the third Robin, Tim Drake. Tim first appeared in 1989 1989 in Batman number 436. Growing up, he had a fascination with Batman and Robin, specifically how Robin seemed to keep Batman grounded. At the age of 9, Tim watched a news report where Robin did a quadruple somersault. At that point, he realized that Robin was the surviving member of the Flying Graysons, Dick Grayson, and he also realized that because Dick was Robin, that his adopted father, Bruce Wayne, must be Batman. After the death of Jason Todd, Tim noticed Batman's erratic change in behavior and came to the conclusion that Batman needed a Robin. He suited up independently as Robin at the age of 13 and was eventually able to convince a reluctant Batman to let him become the third Robin. I loved him because in terms of his physical abilities, he is one of the worst fighters in the Bat family. He's not very skilled with his hands, and he's also really short. I think in canon he's like 5'7", so he really has to rely on his brain, and rely on his brain he does. He is one of the best detectives in the DC universe. Tim is definitely the most complicated character to talk about on this list, and as a big fan of his, I'm a little worried he's going to be left off the team, and let me explain why. First off, in comic books, Tim has been like completely forgotten for 15 or so years now. It seems like ever since Damian Wayne was introduced, they just haven't known what to do with Tim Drake. Like, they changed his name to Drake, they changed his name to Red Robin to have him become like a Nightwing sort of character, and neither of those really worked, so then he went back to being Robin, but Damian Wayne was still Robin. It's just like, it's very frustrating to follow, and eventually he did get his own solo title like 2 or 3 years ago, written by Megan Fitzmartin, and I checked it out because I'm a huge Tim Drake fan, and I hate to shit on creators, but I thought it was a pretty bad book. I really didn't like it. It just seems like Tim's been in limbo for years. They don't know what to do with him. They don't know what team to put him on. They don't know what to do with him in the Bat family, whether to make him independent. And it's really been frustrating as a Tim fan. I loved the Robin run from the 1990s. I think it's really good. I also really liked the Jeff Johns Teen Titans run. I know a lot of people think it's mediocre, but I thought Tim Drake was pretty compelling in that run. Also, his friendship with Connor Kent, I think it's pretty underrated as a DC friendship. So yeah, my first point is that he's been forgotten for years, and I feel like the DCU might just be like, oh, well, if everyone's already forgot about him, why do we need to integrate him? But my second point is also the fact that they're starting with Damian Wayne as Robin. It really worries me that their excuse for Batman getting a Robin after the brutal death of Jason Todd is going to be crazy circumstance. That crazy circumstance being Bruce Wayne's biological son, who was also trained to be assassin his entire life growing up to age 10, showed up at his doorstep and is now living at his house. And I feel like they're going to take the dynamic of Tim Drake becoming Robin to help ground Batman and make him less psychotic, because Batman was going crazy after the death of Jason Todd, and Tim Drake noticed that, and he felt like Batman needed a Robin. I kind of feel like they're just going to give that to Damian Wayne and skip Tim Drake entirely. And if you're going to try to use Damian Wayne to ground a psychotic Batman, like, Damian Wayne would make Batman way more psychotic. Damian Wayne is arguably as much of a crash out, even more of a crash out than Jason was, because he has all the rage issues that Jason had. He's younger, and he also is a trained assassin by the best assassins in the world. This dude is not gonna help ground Batman after the death of his last Robin. Like, this dude is gonna turn our DCU Batman into our Snyderverse Batman, where he's just killing people. Again, this could just be me overthinking it, but I feel like Batman is still gonna be really upset over the death of Jason Todd in this movie, and I feel like he's probably going to be very anti-Robin or young sidekicks. And if this is the route that they go, and honestly, I'm just completely making up problems at this point because we know nothing about this movie. It's probably years off. But if they go this route, I'm gonna be frustrated. I mean, that's really frustrating to me. It won't make sense if they try to make Damian this like kid that grounds Batman, and they try to turn Damian into a normal kid. Like, this is not a normal kid. This is a kid who was raised by assassins. He is insane. He's full of rage, and he's a killing machine. Like, he is. He just is. And I don't think this is good logic as a big fan. I don't think you need to take this logic, but I feel like they're just gonna go, okay, we have Dick Grayson as the first Robin. We have Jason Todd as the second Robin, and then he dies, and they're starting with Damian Wayne, so they might just be thinking, well, why would Batman bring in a random kid to be Robin? Like, that wouldn't make any sense. Batman wouldn't want to have any Robins after the death of Jason Todd, unless it's his son who's already trained and shows up at his doorstep and now needs to be taken care of. And I'm not saying that's the logic I would take, because it's not. I honestly would have started with Tim Drake in this universe, but even with Damian Wayne, you can still start with Tim Drake as the Robin of this universe. I mean, that's how Damian was ushered in the Grant Morrison run, but I'm afraid that they're going to take that logic, and I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of other people who are afraid that they're going to do that as well. So will we see Tim Drake in the DCU? Honestly, I am going to say no. I am really worried that they're going to take one of those routes to storytelling, whether it's just, oh, well, Tim's already been forgotten in comic books, or why would Batman have a Robin in between Jason and Damian? It doesn't make sense. But I don't know. I'm going to say no. I am really hoping for yes, and don't get this confused with would I put him in the DCU, because I would definitely put Tim Drake in the DCU. I think he's really valuable to the Bat family. But overall, I'm going to guess that no, he's not going to be in the DCU. All right, so now let's talk about one of the Batgirls, or spoiler, Stephanie Brown. Stephanie is the daughter of lower-tier Batman villain Cluemaster and decided to don a costume and help take him down once she realized he was going back to crime. He helped Batman and Robin take down the Cluemaster and since then was an associate of the Batman family. Eventually, she became Batgirl and her relationship with the third Robin, Tim Drake, is well known throughout DC fandom. So I know a lot of you are going to be mad about this because of my answer with Tim, but yeah, I think that Stephanie is going to be part of the DCU. I think that they're going to want to build out the Birds of Prey. She deserves to be on the Birds of Prey if they're going to do it. She's also very good in combat, so I think she's definitely worthy of the spot on the Birds of Prey. Whether or not she'll be in the Brave and the Bold, I'm not sure. I feel like she probably wouldn't be. I would guarantee Nightwing, I would guarantee Barbara Gordon, and maybe one other character, but I don't know if Stephanie will be in there. But regardless, yes, I do think that she'll be in the DCU. And I can already hear some of you typing, well, no, if you're saying that Tim isn't in it, then Stephanie can't be in it. Yeah, I know, guys, I hear you. But yeah, I think that Stephanie being the daughter of one of Batman's old villains and then independently turning into a good guy to go stop him and team up with Batman and Robin, I think it's a really cool story. And yeah, I think she will be in the DCU. All right, so next up, let's talk about my favorite Batgirl, Cassandra Cain. Cassandra was raised by assassin David Cain and Lady Shiva, two of the most skilled fighters in the DC universe. The goal in raising Cassandra was to create the perfect assassin for the League of Assassins, someone that was so good they basically knew it as a language. Because Shiva and Cain were so skilled in martial arts and combat, Cassandra grew up to become an incredible fighter as well. In fact, many, including myself, consider her to be the best fighter in the DC universe. She's taken on Batman, Deathstroke, and Lady Shiva and has defeated all of them. When she was just a kid, she killed somebody at the instruction of her father. I believe she was like 8 years old, and she ended up running away from him, and she was homeless for like 9 years until she ended up in Gotham for the No Man's Land event. She became one of Oracle's agents and started working to stop the crime in Gotham City as it was being taken over by criminals while it was declared a rogue state by the US government. She got Batman's blessing to bear the bat symbol, and eventually, after the storyline ended, became a larger part of the Batman family. She did eventually take over the Batgirl mantle and has also gone by the alias of Black Bat or Orphan. I think Black Bat's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm gonna keep this one pretty short. I think Cassandra is 100% gonna be in the DCU. Actually, I'll put it at 99 because I do think that Nightwing and Barbara Gordon are actually locks. Like, I think they're certainly gonna be in the DCU. This one I'll put at 99 because I'm pretty certain, but it's like, it's not a lock. Because Cassandra, I feel like in mainstream, isn't as well known as like Barbara Gordon or Nightwing or Red Hood, but if her story was more put out there, I think she would be as popular as them. I mean, she is really a great character. She's such a badass. Like, her fighting skills are remarkable. I think she'd be perfect for a Birds of Prey show that is focused on action-based DC females like Huntress, Black Canary, and her. But yeah, I think her backstory is really intriguing and her character has really strong emotional depth, and I think that people deserve to see this story on the big screen. And I'm sure that whenever Cassandra Cain does hit the big screen, she will become an immediate fan favorite as long as she's done justice. And I know she hit the big screen in the Birds of Prey movie, but like that, I mean, that was the character in name, I guess. It wasn't really Cassandra Cain at all. To me, as a lifelong Batman fan, Batman is my favorite superhero, I would say that Cassandra is as easy as a choice as Nightwing, Red Hood, and Barbara to put in the DCU. Alright, so next let's talk about Batwoman. And for this video, we're going to be talking about the post-crisis version of Batwoman, Kate Kane. In post-crisis continuity, Kate's parents were military, and when she was a child, her mother, and her twin sister Beth were kidnapped by terrorists. They were eventually located, but only Kate made it out alive. This was an event that shook Kate to her core and changed her life forever. Kate grew up and went to Army West Point to join the military, following in her father's footsteps. However, she was accused of homosexual misconduct and resigned from the military. Kate has substance abuse issues, particularly relating to alcohol, and one night she was out drinking when a mugger attacked her outside of a bar in Gotham City. Because of her military combat skills, she was able to easily take down the guy and was going to hurt him even more before Batman stepped in and got in the way. Seeing Batman appear to her was all the inspiration she needed to want to become a vigilante herself. She bought stolen military equipment off the black market and began traveling around the world dealing with criminals before eventually ending up back in Gotham, where she would occasionally work with Batman. She is also Bruce Wayne's cousin on the maternal side. She is related to Bruce through Bruce's mother. She has been pretty much fully integrated into the Batman family at this point, and I'm gonna be honest, I know that there are some fans of Batwoman Kate Kane, but when I say that the Bat family is a little bit bloated, this is one of the characters that I'm talking about. And this isn't me saying that I dislike Kate Kane as a character. I think she's interesting enough, but I honestly am just not a huge fan. Like, you got characters like Stephanie Brown, who is the daughter of Cluemaster and independently suited up and helped Batman and Robin to take him down. You got Tim Drake, who was able to deduce Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne's true identities just using his detective skills. You got Cassandra Cain, who was trained by two of the best assassins in the world and is an absolute beast of a fighter. And there are so many other backstories I can go into, but in my opinion, Kate Kane's backstory in in post-crisis just isn't all that interesting. Like, just seeing Batman outside of a bar and being like, oh, I want to be a crime fighter now. Like, I know we have stupider origins in the DCU than that, but I just think it's kind of lame. So will she be in the DCU? Honestly, I'm leaning towards no, because I feel like DC Studios just wants people to completely forget the character after the CW abomination that came out a couple years ago. But I do feel like there is a way to write her in. We already know that Maxwell Lord is running some version of the JLI. Maybe they get a high-ranking military figure like Kate Kane to suit up as Batwoman. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Well, Kate Kane had to leave the military because she was homosexual. And that's a fair argument. But in the military, since 2011, you're allowed to be outwardly homosexual. And a big part of Kate Kane's origin was that she left the military because she was outed. But maybe in this version of the DCU, she was never outed and she became a high-ranking general in the DCU and eventually worked her way up to still somehow wanting to become a superhero or vigilante. And so Maxwell Lord recruits her to the Justice League International, where she serves as Batwoman. I know so many of you are going to be thinking that's lame, and I'm probably going to get a lot of comments talking about how that's so dumb and whatever. I'm just throwing ideas out there, you know what I mean? And yeah, I know I'm totally yapping at this point, because then you'd have to change her whole origin about running into Batman outside the bar because she never would have been at that bar if she was still in the military, yada yada, I know. But I do feel like there's a way you can write her in to where she's not associated with the Bat family, but she's associated with the Justice League International. But honestly, I don't know if she's gonna be in the DCU. My gut is telling me no. So my final answer will be no. So next up, let's talk about the Daylight Protector of Gotham, Duke Thomas, aka The Signal. Duke Thomas was raised in the worst part of Gotham, the Narrows, and actually rescued Batman from a hurricane during the events of Batman Zero Year when he was a kid. A couple years later, the Joker returned to Gotham and kidnapped Duke and his family. Joker had figured out Batman's secret identity and thus wanted to recreate the event that killed Bruce's parents using the Thomas family. Batman was able to rescue Duke, but his parents were killed by Joker toxin. Now an orphan, Duke entered the foster system. Shortly afterwards, a story called We Are Robin took place, where Gotham City's youth banded together, sporting the Robin symbol, and basically wanted to take back the city from its overwritten crime. And Duke was a major player in this story. Batman saw lots of potential in Duke and ended up taking him under his wing, eventually training him into who we now know as the Signal. Duke is pretty interesting because he's the only member of the Bat family that has superpowers. Basically, it allows him to see residual light, like where people were walking. That's pretty much my understanding of it. I don't really understand any more than that. I actually like Duke a lot. He's Scott Snyder's baby, and that New 52 Batman run by Scott Snyder is one of my favorite Batman runs. I think it's very, very good. It released when I was like 6 years old, and I read most of it by the time I was like 9. Honestly though, although I do like Duke Thomas a lot, I don't expect to see him in the DCU, at least for a long time. In making a new DC film universe, you have the opportunity to dial back the Bat family from the comics. And if I were James Gunn and I was looking at a list of characters to select and not select for the Bat family, I think the Signal would be one of the first characters I would not want to be part of the DCU Bat family. The Daylight Protector of Gotham, I know it's like a niche, but I don't think we need that. We already have 3 Batgirls, 4 Robins, and a Batwoman, as well as some other characters that I'm going to be talking about soon. And again, I actually like this character. I like the Signal a lot more than I like Batwoman. No, I don't think that Duke Thomas is going to be in the DCU. He's too recent, you know what I mean? There's not enough history in the comics. He doesn't have any iconic storylines, at least in my opinion. And like I said earlier, with Batwoman, I feel like he overall adds to the bloat of the Bat family a little bit. I will reiterate that I do like this character, but I do not expect to see him in the DCU. Alright, so next up, let's talk about the son of Wayne Enterprises CEO Lucius Fox, Luke Fox, aka Batwing. Luke Fox was born the son of Wayne Enterprises CEO Lucius Fox. He was very smart in school and ended up going to MIT. Following his graduation, he had job offers all over the world, but decided to go into cage fighting in hopes of gaining Batman's attention. In comics at the time, Batman ran an organization called Batman Incorporated, and Luke Fox was training in cage fighting in hopes of eventually getting recognized by Batman and joining Batman Incorporated. Lucius, his father, did not like the idea, but Luke trained really hard and kept working at it, and eventually, when the Batman of Africa, David Zavimbe, retired, Luke Fox took over as Batwing, and he went to Africa to become the new Batwing of Africa, or Batman of Africa. Eventually though, Luke would return to Gotham to fight alongside Batman in Gotham City. I think Luke is a pretty cool character. He has genius level intellect. He could have had any job he wanted to out of college, but he willingly decided to go into cage fighting because he wanted to be a crime fighter for the Batman Incorporated organization. If you don't know what Batman Incorporated is, it's basically this organization where Batman formed a group of heroes that all represented the Batman mantle in different parts of the world. I think the French Batman's called Night Runner. I think the English one is the Knight, and there's other ones too, like Man of Bats is a really cool one. But yeah, if you look it up, there's Batman for like every country. But yeah, bro could have had all the money in the world, but decided to be a cage fighter so that eventually he could maybe get recognized by Batman one day. And I mean, I respect gambling like that. It's maybe not the smartest, but I mean, it worked out. So will we see him in the DCU? Honestly, I'm gonna say yeah. It might be kind of weird to say that Luke Fox will be in the DCU and not Tim Drake, but I mean, the circumstances are a little different, and I also think that we can have more than just 4 Robins and 3 Batgirls. Like, I think it'd be cool to have another tangent character that isn't a Robin or a Batgirl. I also think there's some value in having a character that wasn't raised in a tragic background and just wanted to be good just because he wanted to be good. I think there's value in having that around, and I also think he's a pretty underrated character, so I'm gonna go with yes. I think he will be in the DCU. Alright, so we've hit the final member of the Bat family for this video, and according to Dan DiDio's 5G initiative, the true successor to Batman, Tim or Jace Fox. He changed his name to Jace. Sorry, that could get confused. Let's just call him Jace Fox. So, like Luke Fox, Jace is also the son of Lucius, and yes, they are brothers. Jace is the oldest, and one time while talking on the phone while driving, accidentally hit a pedestrian. The pedestrian he hit later ended up passing away, and rather than call the police or do something about it, Jace fled the scene. Lucius hired some lawyers to dig up some dirt on the pedestrian that he hit, and the lawyers came back with evidence that this guy was 3 times over the legal alcohol limit, so basically the lawyers put together a defense that the guy had no idea where he was walking, and that's why he ended up getting hit by Jace Fox while he was driving his car. Much later in his life, and I mean much later, in Future State, he becomes Batman. Future State was basically a supposed alternate future of the DC universe that either could or couldn't happen, and let me tell you, that initiative was so dumb. I mean, hey, Yara Flor, Wonder Girl, she's pretty cool. The rest of Future State, like, don't even look into it, because I'm not going to recommend you any of Future State because it is not good. But basically, in Future State, Jace Fox stumbles upon a batsuit and becomes Batman. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. Bruce Wayne goes missing at the hands of some governmental organization called the Magistrate, and Jace Fox takes over the mantle of Batman. Look, I know I could have been more thorough in the character description, but I feel like what I've told you so far is enough to turn anybody away from Jace Fox. I know that we all make mistakes in life, but this dude literally killed somebody with his car and then had his daddy's money pay for him to somehow get out of a manslaughter charge when he was on his phone distracted driving when he hit somebody. And it doesn't matter if the guy is 3 times over the limit for alcohol. Like, you can't kill somebody and flee the scene. Out of anybody to be the next Batman, you have Nightwing, you have Tim Drake, Cassandra Cain. There are so many options. And if you want to do a Batman of African American descent, I have no problem with that. But Luke Fox was right there. Duke Thomas was there, especially with Luke Fox though. Like, I don't understand why you had to create another Fox brother. And I know his first appearance was like way earlier on in the comics, but it was like 1 issue. Like, this dude had no comic history prior to them making him Batman. And he's a criminal. Like, at least with Luke Fox, he was really smart, could have had any job he wanted to, but decided to be a crime fighter out of the greater good. If you ask me, that's something Batman would do. I think Luke Fox would have been a much more compelling Batman than Jace Fox, and I think it's really dumb because he just stumbled upon the Batsuit. Like, it's not like he was related to Bruce in any way. It's not like he did anything. He just stumbled upon it and then was like, oh, I'm Batman now. And that's part of Terry McGinnis' story, is that he just stumbles upon a Batsuit and becomes Batman. Terry McGinnis had a really, really good animated series. Some people don't like it. I'm a huge fan of it. I think there's a pretty big fandom for it. I'm not even a huge fan of the Batman Beyond comics, but that TV show at least did a good enough job to present to the public that Terry McGinnis was compelling and good enough to be Batman. Jace Fox as Batman, I mean, there was no reason to me why he should have been Batman. And that's not me saying that you can't make mistakes and redeem yourself for them later on down the line, but this is Batman we're talking about. I mean, this guy killed somebody, fled the scene, and then got bailed out by his rich parents. Why should I think that this guy should be Batman? There's no way. In short, no. I don't think we'll see Jace Fox in the DCU, and I don't think we'll see him in any form in the DC universe in any adaptation, and I honestly think we soon will never see him in comics again. So in conclusion, alongside Batman and Damian, I think we'll be seeing Nightwing, Batgirl Barbara Gordon, Spoiler or Stephanie Brown, Red Hood Jason Todd, Black Bat or Cassandra Cain, and Batwing Luke Fox. Let me be clear, this is not the team that I would go with. Okay, yeah, it pretty much is. I would just definitely add Tim. Like, I think Tim needs to be there. But yeah, that's who I think will be in the DCU Bat family. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think I got wrong, what you think I got right. You guys are the best, and I will see you guys in the next video.